Welcome everyone, it's the Crypto Lark, and today in the token tank we have Deepcloud AI putting the tough questions to them to try to determine why they think they are going to be the best cloud computing platform. So let's get into it. Welcome everyone, it's the Crypto Lark, and today on the Token Tank we have Deepcloud AI. Here at the Token Tank we invite promising blockchain and crypto projects to pitch or update on their project to our panel of experts. Our panelists are focused solely on asking great questions to the founders so that you, our valued viewers, can make your own crypto calls. Today's panelists, Crypto Zombie, the host of the popular channel by the same name. We have Julian, editor and founder of the Blockchain Brief, and we have Andrew, new in the tank, the ICO man over at Altcoin Buzz, and we are extremely excited to have on today Max from Deepcloud AI. Max, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Lark, it's a pleasure, and it's a pleasure to have all of you guys on here.
Now, Max, I think the perfect place to start, what the heck is Deepcloud AI, and what are you guys doing? Can you give us the short pitch?
We're democratizing cloud computing. We're making it so everybody can share their resources and be able to earn some tokens, and which can be converted to whatever, either rewards or fiat.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks for coming, Max. I wanted to start looking at, so obviously cloud computing has been mass adopted with centralized solutions, including Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud. But what are you guys doing to actually help the adoption of blockchain/decentralized cloud computing? As I view this as like a really important factor in you guys' success.
Well, this is why we think blockchain is perfect for us, because everybody's able to share their resources. Previously, they weren't really able to be monetized. Now they're able to get monetized using blockchain with micropayments. So this enables everybody to be able to share their resources and get paid out.
Okay, cool.
So as far as the tech, I remember we have actually met before, Max. We've actually had an interview. So if I'm going to ask questions, I'm going to ask you some different ones this time that I wish I had asked the first time. So I wanted to discuss a little bit about the tech. You guys said that you're actually going to be using sharding and side chains to improve your efficiency and speed. Can you kind of go into how that's going to work with the system or with your ecosystem?
Sure. And then when it comes to sharding and side chains, that might be a little bit further down the road. But what I can tell you right now, where we are right now, we already have our deep cloud fabric. Our entire platform is already running on our own cloud right now. As a matter of fact, next month we're going to be releasing already the first blockchain service. So things are moving a lot faster than we planned, and we're updating our roadmap as of next week.
Okay, cool.
So Max, just to kind of go back to Andrew's original question, right? So you guys are going to do a B2C play as well as a B2B play for Deepcloud. So on the B2B side, you guys talk a lot about different IoT devices and larger enterprises that will adopt your product. And then on the consumer side, just how does a regular person give up their additional compute power on their computer in order to use Deepcloud. So I wanted to dive in because we've seen a bunch of these sort of projects in the space. How do you guys think about actually getting some of these enterprise companies to join, right? And then if you do, what are some of those partnerships lined up? Because at the end of the day, like I keep going back to the fact that it's like, how do you get them to switch from Amazon, right?
Yeah. It's a great question. It's a great question. And I can tell you right now, being able, if you're in a community, for example, and you're putting out resources, and your community is putting out resources, the enterprises in that area are incentivized to be able to use those resources locally. It's going to be faster, as we've talked about in the past. The latency issue gets resolved in this way as well. That's one way. The other way that we have is launching other blockchain-based services like Deep Transfer, which we're releasing next month. It's a free service. along with the premium version as well. Those type of services really help us increase the users in our network. And the more companies we have coming on board, the better it's going to be. When we're talking about partnerships, we have about a dozen enterprises that we're going to be releasing this week that are going to be using our infrastructure right away.
So this is a big week for announcements in terms of partnerships then.
We have a lot of really cool stuff coming up this week.
So how much, like, what can you tell us any of the companies that you're planning on releasing with? And then I'm also curious as to the amount of compute power that these different companies are going to be offloading and using Deepcloud for.
So I can tell you many of these enterprises are in Mexico, because that's one of our rollout plans, is to go through Mexico and go through Singapore. I can tell you that one of them, we haven't finished the MOU yet, but it's a $15 billion a year company, which is in Singapore. That's a major enterprise. All the rest of them are much smaller. However, TV Azteca is one of the biggest TV channels in Latin America. We're working with them as well. So these are some of the big partnerships that we're working on. They do use quite a bit of resources. In the beginning, in initial rollouts, we are not looking to replace their AWS entirely. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a side-by-side pilot program, and we're going to start that and see how we can transition some of their services over and let our cloud continue to grow.
And so how much are you saving these companies, right? And at the same time, too, like, how much do you monetize from these type of enterprises joining the Deepcloud platform?
So we want to be competitive. We're going to be slightly cheaper than AWS, but that's not the only advantage. The advantage is going to be reduced latency and faster speeds, being able to use their computation a lot faster.
So this links back to your actual cash flow and your business model, correct? The business to consumer is free, and then the premium version, you guys are charging a certain amount, fixed fee, or they have to lock up tokens?
That's correct. That's correct, and that's just one of our services. So as you guys know, we also have a very deep relationship with Nebulous. Nebulous is a blockchain. They're really big. They have quite a few dApps. We're actually going to be working with the most lucrative dApps that they have, and we're going to be hosting all those apps on our platform as well.
Nice. Now, just to explore a little bit more to that Nebulous partnership, so you're not building on top of Nebulous, you're not even ICOing on top of Nebulous, but they will be working together with you, right? So why did you choose not to build on top of Nebulous? Why did you choose to launch an ERC20 token and not even ICO with Nebulous?
Guys, it's because they're actually a very solid tech blockchain. So when it comes to handling their micropayments at this stage, they're the best ones for us to work with, especially with their fast transaction rates. Number one. Number two, we actually have a plan to roll out our own blockchain, actually, by Q1. So it's an enterprise scale, high-speed, solid blockchain that we're going to be rolling out that's going to be geared for AI processing at the edge and stuff like that. So that's going to be something that we want to do coming up. So we didn't want to put this on top of Nebulous and get off on the wrong foot.
Now, is Nebulous actually helping with the development of that blockchain?
No, that's entirely our own chain.
Okay.
You guys have your own MVP that you just launched, right? Correct?
Yep, the MVP is out. It's up. We have several dApps on there that you can use. Cool thing about our project, and one thing we were talking about earlier, Julian, when you were talking about how we're going to get people transitioned over, is you can't just have dApps only and blockchain-based projects only coming onto these cloud computing programs, these platforms. So the thing with our project, we can actually pull in traditional projects as well, traditional apps right onto our platform. So, and then let them over time transition to a blockchain version of whatever they have. So that's where we can actually start pulling in people right away.
So you guys are like backwards compatible, essentially, almost for people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's important if you're going to have some type of an adoption, because we can't expect everybody to just drop everything that they have and build something completely from scratch.
So maybe on the consumer side, though, right? So I totally understand how it's more of like a long tail play, really convincing these different enterprises to sort of switch from what they're used to on the centralized side to something that's a decentralized system. So on the consumer side, though, I know that you've mentioned this a couple of times in, you know, the different videos that I've actually watched with Lark and Crypto Zombie. How do you think about getting regular consumers to start using your platform, to give up their spare compute power to earn deep tokens?
It's going to be using services like Deep Transfer, marketing to these people directly, and incentivizing them with tokens, and trying to get these guys to see, hey, listen, by doing this, you're going to earn these tokens, which you can transition into, you know, fiat or any other cryptocurrency. So
can you dive into Deep Transfer a little bit more? I would love to hear a little bit more about what exactly Deep Transfer is.
Sure. Are you guys familiar with WeTransfer? It's a program that people use to send large files.
Yes.
You know, right. So it's a blockchain version of that, and with a free version is up to 3 gigabytes, and the premium version is up to 30 gigabytes a file. And it has blockchain security. It has enterprise scale encryption. It has many different features that will also be rolled out within the next week. As a matter of fact, the testing is completed today, so we have a lot. That's something we're going to be putting out pretty soon.
Got it. Okay, awesome. I actually did not know that that's what Deep Transfer was, so that's great that you clarified that.
Nobody does because we haven't really rolled that out yet. That's why there's so many things under the wraps that we're going to be putting out there. We have a really good strategy because we have a team that's actually done this before with other products.
Yep.
Yeah, Max, I wanted to actually ask you that. So you did recently launch your MVP, and you say that you do have a team. I was actually curious about your team because I know the last time we spoke, you know, Geeta, your CTO, she seems to really be the figurehead, the forefront, the person running the show. But I was concerned, you know, outside of that, like how much of this project is actually weighing in on Geeta herself versus, you know, if something potentially had happened or Geeta couldn't be around. Do you have faith in the team to move forward and push this? Or
Guys, we have an amazing team. As a matter of fact, we have our principal AI architect, Joseph. He's fabulous. We actually just pulled in a great head of graphics and marketing person. We have Miro, who's actually ex eBay. He's in the project. And now we actually have several really great programmers and developers that are not listed on the website. One of those reasons is because we're trying to reduce as much poaching as possible. So, but we do have a very solid team, and we're actually looking at bringing in another business development person that's in from Silicon Valley who's worked with Cloudflare and several other big projects. So some really hard-hitting people.
Yeah, that's big.
Great.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I really do believe that there's very few projects who have industry experienced people like we do.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's usually the projects that are the most quiet, you know, like you guys, you know, usually are the ones that are really most tech focused right now. So I think that's been an issue lately is, you know, definitely, obviously, we know marketing is a huge thing right now, but I could definitely, you know, we've met several times in person and I can tell that you guys never stop working. I mean, I can definitely vouch for you on that for sure. So, so are you guys, you know, you guys, you said you're also looking to use hardware as well, correct? Is that, are you guys going to be software only, or are you also looking to integrate with hardware like some of these other projects that we're seeing?
Are you talking about Intel SGX? Intel SGX is, yeah, that's actually a part of our enterprise plan. So we are integrating that with enterprise platform because we're customizing a lot of things for enterprises. And that's going to be part of what we're doing with our blockchain.
So you guys aren't building your own, you're just going to utilize the existing Intel's SGXs?
Yeah, which is what some of the other projects are doing. I know that iExec is doing that, and Anchor's Big Plays, they're just using Intel SGX as well. So that's something that a lot of projects are doing because it's available and it's tested pretty well.
Right.
There's been a few concerns in regards to the Intel SGX, like Spectre attacks or potentially being vulnerable. What do you think about that?
I believe that they've addressed it. From what I've heard, they've addressed it. They've patched it. So I think we're okay in that respect. But just to let you guys know, we're also looking at partnering with several other security companies, like for example, StarTech and NewCipher. So there's a few other really big plays as well. Because anybody who's building their DApp or app on our project, they actually work with several different security vendors.
Cool.
Very, very cool indeed. Now, I want to expand a little bit on, I guess, the competition. You've briefly mentioned them there, but we have, Deep Brain Chain, we have Sonam, we have Golem, we have Perlin, we have Anchor. I mean, cloud computing and blockchain seems to be one of the hot things this season. So what are the advantages that you have over some of these other platforms, and what are some of the advantages that the other platforms have over you?
Okay, I am kind of biased, so I'm going to go at this. Listen, the advantage that we have is our experienced team that's already rolled out products into the marketplace, into traditional tech market, but we know how to do it. Not to mention, we are already doing it. While a lot of these guys are still looking at how they're going to do things and breaking this apart, figuring out which technologies they're going to use and so forth, we're already at the stage where we're rolling out blockchain services, and we're actually looking at putting together revenue models. So this is a big part of it, and I know being in this industry long enough that having that first mover advantage is huge. Many of these projects have been able to come in a year, 2 years earlier, but they've been fairly stagnant for whatever the reason. And I know that there's a lot of evolution in the technology going on. However, we think that we got the recipe to get this executed, and we're doing it. So that's now when you say what these other projects have over us, they got a lot more hype. Just to be honest, they got a lot more hype. They were in the market early enough where a lot more VCs noticed them. We've been under the radar. So yeah, those are the advantages that they have.
Well, it's a bit like K-Dub said, sometimes the ones you don't hear a lot from are the ones who are working the hardest on developing the tech, whereas the other ones, you might hear a lot from them, but that's because they're out at conferences all the time, not at home working on their computers.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you do kind of break it down as far as your confidence in your team, but I was also concerned for just the average everyday investor because, people that watch the show, they just want to know, hey, what can I buy, and is it going to go up? Is it going to 100x, right? We're not really here for that today. But my honest question was, outside of utilizing the Deep token just for payments on the network, do you have any other alternative incentives for, do you have like master nodes or something that somebody else could potentially have incentive to stake on the platform?
Yes, we are going to have master nodes, and they are going to be, we're going to be releasing those details next week, and I believe you have to have 10,000 tokens or so to be able to have a master node. But yes, we will have those incentives as well.
Cool. And how are you guys dealing with consensus and governance and all that type of stuff? I mean, is it fair? Is it, how do you run that?
Geeta's running all that. She could probably answer some more questions about that, but it is fairly fair. Mm-hmm. She has, we've tried to make this as solid as possible, and I think as time goes on, you guys will see that everything that we have is laid out in the most fair way for the consumers and for the businesses as well.
Okay.
And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to let you talk.
Back to the team. Obviously, in the advisors, you have Hitters, which is pretty impressive. What's his exact role in your company, your project?
Hitters is huge in putting our project out in China and talking to everybody he knows about us and helping us out with making the right connections with exchanges when we get to that point.
So helping more on the adoption side of actually getting the project out there and. Cool. Exactly.
And helping us make the right connections, because we come from a traditional tech space. We're not necessarily deeply entrenched in the crypto from back in the day. So having somebody like him really does help a lot.
For sure.
So Max, can we dive into a little bit about this last financing round, or the financing round that you guys are currently doing right now? Can you just kind of walk us, break down how much you guys are raising, what's the valuation, and then just kind of talk about some of the different discounts and rounds that you guys have had?
Sure. The based off of how much the contributors are able to put into this project as far as value is concerned, the highest amount is up to 25%. but a lot of them are up about 10%. We are still in the private round where we're raising funds. We've been fairly selective with who we have coming on board. We're raising 15 million. 3 million of that is going to be raised in the crowd sale, and the rest is going to be raised in private and pre-sales.
And what's the valuation of the company?
I'd say about 30.
Okay, got it. So 30 million, so 15 million. So you're roughly selling 50% of your tokens to investors.
Correct. Well, 40. We're selling 40%. 15% of the overall tokens is actually not going to be able to be sold. They're actually used for enterprise adoption, and they're not going to be able to hit the exchanges. They'll just be used to help enterprises onboard.
So how do you think about valuing the business? Like, how did you get to the number of approximately a $40 million valuation on Deepcloud at this current stage, right? Because I think with the market sentiment now, I think a lot of people are starting to realize, and I don't think it's necessarily your business, but there are other companies that are rating at $100+ million valuations. So do you think this is sustainable? And also, how did you guys end up deciding to come to the number that you did?
No, I don't think it's sustainable. I think, once again, we come from the tech space, and you'll never get this kind of money from VCs in Silicon Valley. And too many of these, usually you have to show something before you can actually earn anything or get anything from these VCs, and this is a very different space. We came to 15 million because we put out a 5-year plan, and we put together what we think, what type of staff we need, what kind of professionals we need, what kind of a marketing campaign we need to be able to execute this. Now, by the way, some of that is also trying to take into consideration making sure that we look at what it's going to cost to have good exchanges and so forth, and having those type of things dialed in. That's basically the bare minimum that we believe that we needed. Or that's how much we think we needed to execute. Now, we can change this. If we weren't able to get to that, we can make do with half of that and have it as a 2-year plan, and really have to crank things out and really put a lot of pressure on us. But we really wanted to have a 15 mil cap that we think that we could use to really comfortably execute this project.
Now, and then, so with that $15 million, are you holding it in what you're raising? Are you holding it in Ethereum since that's what you're raising it in, or are you planning on cashing that directly to fiat?
We're actually cashing it. We would be cashing it as we need it. So exactly. And one of the things that we just had an AMA recently about transparency. One thing that we don't have a problem with is being very transparent about where the funds go and so forth. So we're going to have something like that in play as well.
In terms of that, we have seen some stories recently of ICOs that raised $20 million when Ethereum was $500, $600, $700, $800, $900,000, and now they're cashing out now, and they've lost 2/3 of their liquidity, basically. And are you not worried that that might happen to you if market conditions continue to turn sour, that not cashing out immediately might not mean that you have enough money to maintain the business long term?
Well, you got to believe in this blockchain thing. You got to believe in this crypto thing. You can't, if you cash out all the way, that shows how much you actually believe in this entire thing, this entire experiment of blockchain. So, and now the advantage for us. Yeah, I mean, the advantage for us is, hey, if we can raise 15 million with Ether being at these prices, this may actually help our company in the long run more than anything else. We don't see Ether dropping that much lower. However, any of these other projects that raised twice as much as we did, we may actually end up being much further ahead, not just in the development, but in an actual capital if Ether does pick back up again. So there's some major advantages for us at this stage to be able to raise funds.
Nice. I just want to follow up one more quick question on the overall token sale. Is only 3 million's going to the public crowd sale, so 80% of the available sales going to private investors, institutional buyers, all these different things. Why was that metric decided? Why was such a small amount relatively going to the public?
Because we were really looking at, first of all, it's a fairly low hard cap compared to a lot of these other major projects. And the other thing is we really felt like if we were to get these private investors on board, many of them have a lot more leverage when it comes to helping us with adoption, with enterprises, et cetera, that can really, facilitate that process.
Right.
And at the same time, we still want to leave some amount for people out there in our community, because that's also very valuable.
So I was just interested moving forward as far as now you guys, you're not even on a testnet yet, or are you running on a testnet currently, or you're not yet?
Well, we're running, actually our entire platform is up, so there's dApps that are up and running. So
mainnet, you're done already.
Our platform itself is completely up. Now, the blockchain itself, we're running off of the Nebula chain. That's also completely up because their mainnet's working. So as a matter of fact, as of next month, we have a live product. That's what I'm saying. I mean, we're further ahead than a lot of these projects who've actually started it over a year ago.
Are those dApps that you have on the showcase applications, the fortune cookie, that's all built on top of you guys, and that was done by developers already? So those are real working examples of actual dApps.
Those are real working. Some are blockchain based, some are non-blockchain based. So so we try to put a combination of stuff out there as well. And we're not running off a bunch of AWS servers like almost every other blockchain project.
Yeah. Max, I'm not buying it. This doesn't sound like an ICO. I mean, I don't know what to do. You have a working product and stuff like this. I mean, come on, you should have raised $100 million on a white paper. This is craziness, what you're doing.
Well, this is the market that we're in. We're in a really bear market, and we're in a really bear market. And if we can get what we need right now, to me, it's the equivalent of raising $100 million, to be honest with you. So with the prices that we threw the way they are, this is this is fine for us. And by the way, for us, it's more about execution and trying to execute our plan. We need to be able to roll out into the market, because once we have a revenue model, once we're able to roll out and funds start coming in, that's a big in itself.
So I'm curious, actually, Andrew, do you want to take this one before I jump in on another one?
I was going to ask just about the token burning model. Kind of what's your plan in regards to burning tokens?
We're going to burn any tokens that we don't sell.
Okay. Well, I thought I saw something else in a white paper or somewhere about further burns. Maybe not.
No, we're gonna be burning any tokens that we don't sell in the crowd sale.
Okay, no worries. And looking back on the vesting periods for the private investors, you said they're 3 months after listing an exchange, correct?
Correct. That's right. The bonuses themselves, yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and the maximum bonus that was ever given out to any investor was 25%.
That's right. That's right.
And then they are held to the longest lockup.
That's right.
Okay, got it.
Even the 10% bonuses are also locked for 3 months.
Got it. So let's talk about, and this is I don't think a lot of blockchain companies really talk about this stuff, but how long do you guys predict until you reach profitability, right? Like, how much is a company? So let's just hypothetically take one of these companies in Mexico, for example, right? Like, how much revenue could they hypothetically bring in on a yearly basis? And then how much revenue do you project that you'll book over, say, the next, call it 1 year to 18 months?
Well, we believe in the next 12 months that we should be we should be profitable. And by the way, some of these enterprises, like I haven't disclosed some of the names, are fairly large in Singapore that we're working with. If we can get this pilot project on there, they've already agreed to license our products. So those kind of things are fairly big for us.
Interesting. So when they license it, is it like a what do you mean by like that? It's sort of like a white label sort of thing, or what do you mean in terms of?
Yes, because they are an enterprise, they will want to have some. It'll be a white label, but we'll also basically build a customized dApps for them as well. And that's kind of what we're doing right now. They have issues in their enterprise, and where our team is actually building out customized solutions for them that sit on top of our cloud.
Got it. Okay, very cool.
Nice. Now you mentioned
and to be honest with you,
Go ahead.
And to be honest with you, that's really what has to happen in this space. You can't just build a blockchain and walk away. You can't just build a platform and walk away. You have to, if you want to see success, you have to build the infrastructure, and you got to also help facilitate the rest of it. Otherwise, nothing's going to actually happen.
Yep.
Nice.
I completely
Go ahead.
agree
I'm
with
sorry, Lark.
Yeah, Max, I want to follow up on the idea about smart cities. So I want to know, are you actually talking to any cities yet in terms of implementing this kind of technology for a city?
Singapore, and we're looking at a few cities in Mexico as well. And those cities in Mexico are not necessarily smart cities. They're more like solutions for other areas within their government, like land titles and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So you're actually talking to, mayors and land resource departments and things like this in those jurisdictions.
I had a meeting this morning with the governor down from Mexico, one of the areas from Mexico. Yeah, we have some really solid connections down there, and we have a team down there.
That's awesome.
So Max, what keeps you up at night?
You guys really want to know? What keeps me up at night?
I think he means like what's the most difficult part of the job?
Yeah,
we don't need to know those.
What is what terrifies you about not only what you're building, but about the space in general? Maybe we can start with what you're building first, right? Like what really keeps you up?
First of all, what worries me is the hype. Is so many of these projects are built around hype, and so many of these blockchain or crypto enthusiasts, they're chasing the next 100x and so forth, and I just don't see that being sustainable, and I don't see that being the future of blockchain. So, and I worry that if that's all that people are looking at, they may skip over this project and not be able to see the value in it.
So do you see the majority of your revenue, though, flowing in from enterprises, or is it really on the consumer side?
No, we see most of it coming from enterprises, apps, and by the way, we're going to be a speaker and have a booth at the IoT Tech Expo in November, which is huge. It's one of the biggest in the world, and we're going to be demonstrating actual AI processing at the edge. On our project and our infrastructure, and those are the things that we want to be able to showcase to some of these enterprises. Some of the biggest enterprises are going to be there. We want to be able to show that, demonstrate it, and get them on board, because really we believe the money's in enterprises and it'll trickle down.
Hey Max, before you go, is there anything that is currently not public yet that you can share with our audience over at Token Tank? That will be a nice little surprise.
I actually told you guys about Deep Transfer. Nobody knows about this yet. You guys are the first ones to know about this new service that we're putting out there. And we are actually working on several other big blockchain-based services that we're going to be putting out in the weeks ahead. That's what this is about. If you want to get this, if you want adoption, we have to put out products into the marketplace that people around the world want to use. They already use, but they can see much more benefits using these type of services. That's what we need to do.
Do you guys only see this as the beginning? Like, I mean, I know you're starting with just cloud computing and that, but do you see this as just the first stepping stone to a bigger picture? Because I feel like you could take this in so many different directions.
Yes, absolutely. We believe this is the future of where cloud computing is going to be, and those AI matching things that you were talking about, that's a big part of it. And I'm not sure, one thing I can share with your community right now is actually we have several patents that were just filed based on a technology. So this is where things are headed, especially because of latency and AI processing at the edge. But that stuff is further down the line. We want to be able to capitalize on what's out there now.
Right. Well, actually, Max, not to cut you off, but before we go, can you kind of explain to people really quick the advantages right now, because you do have that edge technology? What are the advantages of utilizing you to relay messages to these IoT devices? In comparison to the kind of traditional standard model that we use right now, because there are differences.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Right now, if you have an IoT device or any type of device, it has to go to a centralized server, which is fine if you're just snapping a picture, right? It's only a couple of megabytes. But if you have AI processing going on, you're going to have 10 times the magnitude of that data. And if in a neighborhood, that's going to slow down the entire bandwidth of that neighborhood. And using our system, you may have a node close by that's able to communicate back and forth, or be able to do the processing. That actually makes a huge difference with latency. It saves money, and it doesn't clog up the entire network.
Cheaper, faster, more secure. We don't care how it works.
There you go.
That's
There you
right.
go.
And that's right. And that's the key. In business, people don't want to know everything behind the curtain. They just want to see it work.
Absolutely, Max. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. It was really an honor to have you back on again and really have you in the token tank. So thank you for coming, man. Appreciate it.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, so what do you think? Deepcloud AI seems like a very promising project to me. I'm definitely a fan of the really like hardcore tech focus.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident after speaking with Max. He makes you feel like they're really actually doing a lot of work behind the scenes and making it all happen. So I reckon the team's pretty impressive, and they've got their competitive advantages, and necessarily they're targeting different niches to all the other big like Golem and Anchor and stuff like that. So I think they're a pretty good position.
Yeah, I mean, I was totally trying to pound them on the questions for just like the adoption side. In terms of the enterprise partnerships that they have, the 12 that he had mentioned, pretty impressive, especially at that sort of scale. And then I really do like what they're doing with deep transfer. I think creating a product like that, similar to WeTransfer for file transfer, it's like very, very, it's like a no-brainer. A lot of people need that. So I did appreciate that they do have a real product that they're pushing out there for both consumers as well as enterprise, at least in the short term, right? I'm sure it'll change and grow from there.
Yeah, I was definitely impressed about that, actually, Julian. The fact that you don't see a lot of these projects coming out with MVPs and dApps already being built and developers lined up with partnerships. I mean, like you said, what is this, a reverse ICO? What's going on here? So that definitely I thought was amazing. And actually, this is a true story, real quick, just to tell you guys. When I first got introduced to Deepcloud, I actually wasn't going to talk to them because I looked at the name and I was like, Deepcloud AI, okay, another one of these. You know what I'm saying? And Max actually reached out to me and was like, hold on. Let's do a conference call. I want to talk to you. So we actually did a call before the first interview, and then there was that call when I listened to Max and he told me about Geeta, her time, her experience, their team, how many different people had worked with how many different projects. That's when I was just like, you know what? This is one of those teams that they got the tech, they got the vision, they have the hardware even, but they just don't have the marketing. And that's why I was like, all right, let's get on and let's talk about this. So I'm definitely impressed, and I wouldn't be surprised if after all the hype dies down around these other projects, that Deepcloud is the one that we might potentially be talking about a year, 2 years down the road, just because they're not focused on the hype or now. They're looking so far out. You know, and that's
just on actual real life business models and cash flow. So, which is
exactly. They're revenue focused, right? Like it's really funny because I'm sure a lot of these companies that we speak to are not revenue focused. To be honest, though, I'm a little bit skeptical on the 1 year profitability. I think that's very, very ambitious, especially if you do have a team of say 25, 30 people with, you know, engineers on the payroll. But again, at least they're coming into it with the mindset of how do we actually monetize this at the gate, which I think will be a big, big game changer. One thing that I did sort of think about, though, was, you know, why do they really need like a native token? If at the end of the day, they're sort of, if at the end of the day, the point of the native token is really just for micropayments, like do they really need it? I don't know. I'm still a little bit up in the air on that.
I mean, technically, every blockchain needs some form of value to be transferred to execute contracts, but you don't necessarily have to put them on exchanges and sell them. So that I do hear you from that standpoint.
Sure.
It will have its utility. You know, you will hear some things from the investors, you know, another one of these, right? So, but then again, you have to ask yourself what you're investing in specifically. I mean, just from a utility standpoint, well, then I myself might have to take a, you know, say no to that. But as far as what they're doing and what they're building, and with the adoption, as the adoption and the demand grows, then the value of the utility will grow as well. So, I mean, you could really say that for most of these chains coming out right now. So
yeah, but I think at the end of the day, though, it's like, couldn't you just implement like a SaaS model and have it, you know?
Yeah, no, you can actually, which is, I don't know. That's, yeah, I don't have an answer for that. I mean,
it certainly becomes a bit tricky in terms of the question, you know, do we need blockchain? And that's perhaps a bigger conversation. Personally, I see the utility in it. I see the utility in them running their own blockchain and having that value transfer system within their own blockchain and incentivizing people that way so that I can use my phone, for example, to contribute to the network, as an example.
That was pretty much my first question
make a
to
few
Max,
cents
I guess.
just doing that, right? And that doesn't really become possible with legacy systems because of the micropayment idea, or it's at least not as easy to get those instantaneous micropayments happening. So it makes sense to me. One thing I think I'm most excited about is the potential for the partnerships, because that's what it really comes down to. And that comes back to if they can make the money in a year, if they can be profitable as a company within a year, it comes down to what value those actual partnerships add and how quickly they can get the partnerships actually happening, actually moving forward. Nail that governor down in Mexico, make him, make his whole province or state or whatever, like, okay, we're all doing blockchain now, we're all using Deepcloud AI. Well, then all of a sudden it's like, holy cow, Deepcloud AI, right? But if those partnerships don't get signed, then it's like, Deepcloud what?
Well, he said they're pretty much being released within the next, obviously, is it September 10th, I think the ICO, the crowd sale starts?
Yeah, he said within the next week they're going to release a lot of partnership information.
So, I mean, by a week's time, we'll know if any of them being signed. And
yeah, I mean, granted, we don't know the partners that they're going to have out, but what I like is that they're not just listing partners to list partners. I've seen a lot of projects that literally just shake hands, take a picture, put out a Medium post, and it's just like, okay,
but you see
they're
advisors.
Yeah, right. But you see them; they're actually working with, for example, TV Azteca, something that they can actually utilize. It's, even Certic. I mean, that's something that they can actually use for, auditing and things of that nature. So these are real partnerships. They're not just like, oh, this is my friend. Hey, and I don't know. I really appreciate that. And yeah, they're pretty
strategic partnerships that are actually beneficial to both parties.
So let's keep an eye on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it's back to you, the audience. Let us know, what do you think about Deepcloud AI? Hit us up down below in the comments section and join us next time on Token Tank, where we explore another exciting blockchain project. Thanks so much for watching the episode. Make sure to share your thoughts down below. Thumbs up the video and share these videos around the internet to help our community grow. Join the conversation over on Twitter or Telegram, or support decentralized media over on Steemit. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.